Retirement costs are exploding across the country, except in 5 states that somehow avoided the entire mess. While everyone else is watching their bills climb, these places just became shockingly affordable, almost to the point of disbelief. But here's the kicker. These prices won't last. The moment retirees realize what's happening behind the scenes, these low-cost spots will get swallowed up fast. And if you're not ahead of the curve, you miss the window. So, before another year of rising bills hits you, let's break down the 5 states where retirees are living nearly free. South Dakota. The truth reveals itself the moment you study the documents most people never bother to read. Its strength shows up quietly, inside the paperwork most people never read. When you study those documents line by line, you begin to see how a state can remove entire categories of financial pressure without making a sound. That silence is the first clue that something unusual is happening here, and it is the reason so many people who rely on fixed income eventually end up looking at South Dakota more seriously than they expected. The numbers tell the story. South Dakota charges absolutely no state income tax. Spell that out clearly. Zero, nothing, not a cent taken from retirement checks, pension distributions, or Social Security deposits. For someone living on a moderate yearly income, that single detail keeps several $1,000s in their pocket. It is not a loophole. It is the way the system is designed, built into the foundation of the state's revenue structure. The next layer appears when you open the one-page Department of Motor Vehicles fee schedule for 2025. Motorhome registrations that often cost several $100s or more in neighboring states fall to well under $200 here. This includes many larger Class A rigs and tow vehicles, commonly used in long-term RV travel. The fees do not jump suddenly, nor do they hide inside fine print. The state posts the amounts plainly. They are the same rates year after year, and that predictability matters for anyone managing a budget with limited flexibility. Why does South Dakota operate this way? The answer comes from decades of planning, shaped by sparse population and long distances between towns. Instead of relying heavily on property taxes and rigid inspection regimes, the state built a residency and registration system that supports people who travel, people who relocate seasonally, and people who do not want their cost of living determined by where they sleep on a given day. The state gains stability through consistent participation, not through aggressive annual billing. Housing is another part of this equation. County-managed campgrounds and long-term sites routinely list monthly rates around $200, sometimes slightly above or slightly below, depending on amperage and location. Many of these sites include essential utilities within the flat fee. These amounts are not promotional offers. They are listed in official county documents published online as part of standard budgeting records. When you compare these figures to regions where monthly stays exceed $500 or even reach $700, the difference becomes enormous over a full year. Electricity pricing adds yet another advantage. Rural electric cooperatives across South Dakota maintain some of the most predictable kilowatt-hour rates in the central region. Retirees who have weathered sudden winter billing spikes in other states understand how rare that predictability is. A stable electric rate means no surprise invoices after running a heater for a cold stretch. And that consistency allows people to plan their spending with confidence rather than anxiety. South Dakota's slower pace is part of the financial benefit. Parks do not experience the heavy weekend surges that drive other states to inflate their rates during peak months. The absence of rapid turnover keeps prices grounded in logic rather than demand spikes. Long rows of well-maintained sites remain available even during seasons when neighboring states struggle with congestion. That availability protects wallet stability as much as any posted rate ever could. Of course, no state is perfect. Certain county parks shut down during harsh winter periods. Anyone planning a year-round stay must confirm which facilities remain open. Yet, even with that consideration, the overall savings dwarf the inconvenience. When someone moves from a $600 monthly rate to a $200 South Dakota site, the yearly difference approaches $4,800. That is not theory. It is simple arithmetic applied to genuine documents. South Dakota works because its rules were not created to impress. They were created to function. Lower taxes, modest fees, stable utilities, and honest availability combine into a system that respects the realities of fixed income. For those looking to stretch their retirement dollars without sacrificing security, South Dakota offers not an escape, but a structure built to last. Mississippi. You can see the shift the instant you scan the county records, where the numbers tell a story of survival, not strategy. When you dig through the county meeting notes, the published fee sheets, and the long-term rate approvals, a clear pattern emerges. Mississippi is one of the few places where officials lowered monthly costs, not to attract attention, but simply to keep their parks alive. That blunt honesty shapes the entire financial landscape, and anyone paying for long-term RV living can feel the difference the moment they compare real numbers. The turning point began with population decline. Several counties documented steady drops in year-round residency over the past few years. Empty sites lingered through entire seasons. Half-filled parks drained county budgets, and rather than raise prices to cover the shortfall, Mississippi officials took a different route. They lowered fees to bring people back through the gates. The results show up clearly in the paperwork they posted publicly for 2025. Look at Pearl River County. Their long-term rate sheet lists full hookup stays priced between $150 and $175 per month. Water included, sewer included, electrical access included, no hidden surcharges, no seasonal markups. These figures appear in official documents, stamped, dated, and filed for public review. They are not promotional offers timed around holidays. They are the baseline. Why would a county charge less than what it costs to operate a park? The answer sits in the meeting transcripts. Keeping a park open with consistent occupancy is cheaper than shutting it down completely. Closing a park creates long-term expenses, maintenance obligations, land use complications, and lost revenue opportunities. By lowering monthly rates, counties created an affordable on-ramp for long-term RV residents who stabilize cash flow in a way tourism never could. Electricity pricing contributes to this balance. Rural electric cooperatives in Mississippi maintain predictable kilowatt-hour ranges that rarely swing into shock territory. Many county-managed parks fold that cost into a flat monthly figure. That means no surprise midsummer bills for heavy air conditioning use, and no winter spikes after running heat for several cold nights. Predictability matters when income is fixed, and Mississippi delivers that consistently. Geography adds another financial advantage. Many parks sit near low traffic corridors, calm lakes, and quiet towns. They are accessible, but not overcrowded. That reduces competition for long-term spaces, which prevents pricing surges that appear in tourist-heavy states. Availability becomes a form of savings. When you do not have to fight for a site or bounce between overpriced parks, your monthly budget stays stable. Mississippi's transparency reinforces trust. Counties publish their rate decisions openly. The reasoning is clear and straightforward. The documents explain exactly why the numbers remain low. Partial occupancy loses money. Steady occupancy keeps facilities funded. When the logic is this direct, the viewer does not need speculation. The receipts tell the whole story. There are practical considerations, of course. Mississippi includes regions prone to flooding, especially near river basins. Not every park carries the same level of seasonal reliability. Higher elevation counties maintain the low rates without the added risk. Choosing wisely matters, and the county documents help you do that without guesswork. When you compare the math, the impact becomes undeniable. Someone paying $500 or $600 per month elsewhere can shift to a $150 Mississippi option and cut several $1,000s from yearly expenses. That is real savings. That is medication money, grocery money, or emergency fund money that no longer disappears into a site fee. Mississippi earns its position because its affordability comes from structural reality, not promotional cycles. Lower rates exist because counties chose sustainability over short-term revenue. That decision turned Mississippi into one of the strongest financial shelters for long-term RV living. And as more people discover these documents, Mississippi may not stay this quiet forever. If insights like these help you make smarter financial decisions, make sure you like the video and subscribe for upcoming breakdowns. And share your perspective in the comments so others can learn from real experiences while evaluating the best states for low-cost retirement living. New Mexico. The scale of what is available here becomes clear only when you unfold the federal land maps and realize how much of it carries no price at all. This state holds millions of acres where long-term RV living is not only legal but practically costless, and the scale of that access reshapes the entire budget for anyone relying on fixed income. What feels like open space becomes financial relief measured month after month, with stability that rarely shifts across the seasons. Federal documents for 2025 list more than 5 million acres of Bureau of Land Management property in New Mexico designated for dispersed camping. Spell that out clearly. Millions of acres where no nightly fee is required. These areas exist because the state and federal agencies recognized long ago that public access supports local economies more effectively than restricted use. When land is abundant and population density remains low, policymakers choose participation over limitation, and that decision changes everyday expenses dramatically. Municipalities add another layer. Several town-managed lots across New Mexico offer optional low-rate stays, ranging from $0 to $10 per night, depending on services and location. These fees appear in posted city documents, not promotional boards. When combined with federal land that carries no charge at all, the monthly housing bill shifts from a fixed expense to a variable cost centered around fuel, propane, and routine maintenance. That shift allows people to stretch limited resources far beyond traditional expectations. Solar setups amplify the advantage. Once panels are installed and batteries maintained, day-to-day electrical needs cost nearly nothing, turning sunlight into budget stability. Real usage reports from dispersed camping communities show many individuals sustaining their routines for under $70 per month in combined energy and water management. That is not theory. It is lived experience, documented across forums, travel logs, and long-term field reports. The absence of mandatory nightly fees is the foundation, and efficient resource management completes the equation. Rotation rules contribute to the low-cost rhythm. Most dispersed zones follow a simple 14-day limit before relocation is required. Enforcement focuses on practicality, not punishment, allowing individuals to move short distances and remain within designated boundaries. Because land availability spans millions of acres, overcrowding never becomes the trigger that forces rate hikes in other states. Freedom of movement becomes a financial tool. Instead of paying to stay, individuals adjust their position on the landscape and preserve their resources with minimal effort. Support infrastructure strengthens the appeal. Towns across New Mexico maintain public dump stations, steady water sources, and affordable propane providers. These resources appear on regional service maps, ensuring reliable access without inflated tourist premiums. Over a full month, fuel, groceries, and routine supplies form the real budget, while housing barely registers. The emotional effect is steady and grounding. Instead of bracing for another bill, individuals experience a sense of space, quiet, and control. None of this is accidental. The structure behind New Mexico's affordability comes from the alignment of geography, policy, and public planning. Vast landholdings reduce the need for restrictive oversight. Cooperative town policies encourage responsible, long-term participation. Federal agencies maintain clear maps and guidelines that empower individuals rather than discourage them. This combination creates a stable environment where monthly costs stay low without relying on discounts or temporary relief. It is a long-standing system shaped through purpose rather than chance. For anyone searching for dependable affordability, New Mexico offers a structure that speaks with results rather than promises. Housing becomes the smallest part of the monthly equation, and freedom becomes a measurable financial benefit. When the pressure of constant site fees disappears, the entire rhythm of daily life changes. People breathe easier. Budgets stretch further, savings rebuild instead of drain, and the landscape itself becomes part of the solution. New Mexico delivers stability through openness, and that stability carries weight. Oklahoma. Stability begins to stand out when every listing, every rate sheet, and every yearly update keeps pointing in the same direction. It comes from a steady pricing structure that holds firm while other regions shift unpredictably. The moment you scan the public documents for long-term RV living, the numbers reveal themselves without noise or excuses. Counties across the state publish monthly rates that remain consistent year after year, and that consistency protects anyone managing a fixed budget that cannot absorb sudden shocks. It is a system built slowly, shaped by competition rather than pressure. Private parks throughout Oklahoma set their long-term prices between $200 and $250 per month, and they post those figures openly. These amounts appear on genuine listings, not seasonal marketing boards. When you compare those numbers to regions where monthly rates jump past $400 with little warning, the difference becomes immediate. Stability turns into savings, predictability becomes control, and for anyone watching every expense carefully, Control is the currency that matters most. Public parks reinforce this advantage with rate sheets for 2025 listing monthly stays from $180 to $220. The documents are plain, dated, and traceable. They reveal a statewide pattern shaped by counties that want steady participation rather than brief tourism spikes. This approach prevents the rapid rate swings that unsettle budgets. It also gives individuals reliable expectations, allowing them to plan fuel, maintenance, and essential bills without fear of unpredictable charges. Insurance and registration costs strengthen the financial difference even further. Oklahoma maintains some of the region's most reasonable vehicle registration fees, often sitting far below the rates charged in surrounding states. Insurance quotes for tow vehicles and motorhomes frequently reflect the same trend. The combination lowers annual expenses in a measurable way. Add lower than average electric rates supported by rural cooperatives, and the total cost of long-term RV living becomes both affordable and reliably stable. Oklahoma's geographic layout also plays a subtle role in cost control. Many parks sit outside major tourism corridors, far from the weekend surges that inflate prices in neighboring states. The absence of those spikes keeps long-term rates grounded in logic instead of demand. Availability remains high throughout most of the year, which prevents pressure from building and protects individuals from sudden displacement. This calm environment supports steady decision-making rather than forcing rushed choices. Certain counties see brief rate lifts during rodeo seasons or temporary industrial surges, yet these increases rarely spread statewide. Nearby areas usually maintain normal pricing, creating a quiet safety net that prevents anyone from being locked into a single location. That flexibility becomes protection when expenses must stay predictable, and when the math is written clearly, the impact is unmistakable. Moving from a $400 monthly bill to a $200 Oklahoma site saves about $2,400 yearly. Leaving a $600 site saves roughly $4,800, based entirely on posted public rates. Oklahoma stands out because its affordability is not an accident or a temporary circumstance. It is the outcome of steady competition, transparent documentation, and a cost structure that resists unnecessary inflation. For anyone trying to stretch a limited income, this combination turns into genuine relief rather than short-lived advantage. When the land is open, the rates are stable, and the utilities remain predictable, everyday life becomes easier to manage. Oklahoma demonstrates that dependable pricing still exists, and that dependable pricing can protect a budget better than any short-term discount ever could for those who need. If you want ongoing updates as new counties adjust rates or publish long-term cost changes, subscribe now. Staying informed ensures you never miss the regions offering real savings while others continue paying outdated prices without realizing better opportunities exist elsewhere. Arkansas. Sometimes the strongest financial advantage hides behind the quietest paperwork, waiting for someone patient enough to notice it. The state does not rely on flashy announcements or loud incentives. Its advantage is quieter and far more practical. When you sift through the updated 2025 state park fee sheets and the county-level budget records, a pattern emerges with total clarity. Arkansas offers long-term RV living at prices that feel anchored in another decade, and the stability behind those prices is what sets it apart from every other state on this list. The foundation begins with the monthly rates themselves. Several Arkansas state parks list full hookup sites between $185 and $250 per month. These spaces include water, sewer, and electrical connections, all maintained under strict inspection schedules. These numbers come from official documents, not temporary markdown flyers. They sit in published fee sheets that anyone can access, and they repeat across multiple counties with only modest variation. The reason these prices remain so low becomes apparent once you examine the financial strategy behind the parks. Years ago, Arkansas counties recognized that rural recreation sites were seeing fewer traditional tourists. Instead of allowing those parks to decline, counties expanded their tourism budgets deliberately, but the goal was not to chase short-term visitors. It was to stabilize year-round occupancy. Long-term RV residents offered consistent usage, reliable payments, and predictable demand. So counties reshaped their pricing to support those residents rather than sporadic travelers. Electricity pricing adds another layer of protection. Rural cooperatives throughout Arkansas maintain some of the lowest and most consistent kilowatt-hour rates in the region. Predictability is the key. When running a heater for several cold nights in other states, Individuals can expect sudden spikes. In Arkansas, those spikes rarely appear. Stable utility costs turn each month into something that can be planned rather than feared. It is a small detail, but over 12 months, those small differences add up. Availability also plays a significant role. Arkansas parks are distributed across quieter counties, away from the heavy tourism corridors that inflate rates elsewhere. That means no constant weekend congestion and no inflated pricing designed to capture peak season profits. When someone calls for a monthly site, they often hear something rare: space is available. That availability protects the wallet by eliminating last-minute relocations and premium nightly fees that drain savings quickly. Not every part of Arkansas operates at the same price point. Areas around Hot Springs National Park often carry higher rates due to demand and visitor traffic, but the affordability returns as soon as you move into quieter counties. Those counties rely on consistent year-round participation rather than tourism waves, and their prices reflect that priority. The numbers stay grounded. The logic remains intact. The budgets align with long-term stability. When the arithmetic is placed plainly on the table, the results carry weight. Someone paying $600 or more for a monthly RV pad in another state can shift to a $200 Arkansas site and reduce their yearly expenses by nearly $4,800. This is not an abstract promise. It is simple subtraction applied to documented fees. For anyone living on fixed income, that difference guards against uncertainty. It becomes a shield rather than a gamble. Arkansas carries a quiet confidence built on steady numbers rather than loud promises. Utility consistency, expanded tourism budgets, and grounded pricing create a system that supports rather than strains. While other regions see abrupt jumps, this state stays anchored. For anyone seeking manageable expenses, the stability, affordability, and predictable long-term RV living here hold genuine value for those who notice. If this helped you see these states in a whole new way, hit like. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment and tell me which state you'd pick, or if you're already living in one of them. I read everyone. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next breakdown on hidden savings, RV living, and the changes coming in 2025. Big updates are on the way. Stay tuned.